Let's get some analysis now with Zainab Chaudry. She's the national spokesperson for the Council on American-Islamic Relations and joins us now from Washington, D.C. Really good to have you with us. Firstly, Trump was seen as a big proponent of this Gaza ceasefire deal. Many analysts, including pro-Palestinian analysts, credited Donald Trump with getting this ceasefire deal done in the first place. What do you believe is Trump gaining from this deal and from hostilities ending in Gaza?
Yeah, thank you for having me. So obviously, Mr. Trump, when he was running for office, it was to his strategic interest that there be a ceasefire in place before he took office. He did not want to have the distraction of the ongoing genocide in Gaza to distract from his other priorities and his agenda once he assumed office. This was actually a campaign promise that also earned him support from within the Muslim community. In fact, in many key swing states, it was actually the Muslim vote that helped to push him over the line and get him the votes that he needed within those swing states, including states like Michigan, where there is a significantly large population of Arab American community members. Now, at this particular stage, with the phase one of the ceasefire, in fact, essentially, I mean, even that's up for debate, considering the fact that Palestinians are still being targeted in sniper fire, and the fact that even only yesterday in Jenin in the West Bank, there were targeted demolitions by the Israeli occupation forces, which many people are seeing as continued aggression, Israeli aggression against Palestinians. At this particular phase in this meeting, we believe that Mr. Trump is trying to build on what he perceives his success in brokering the Abraham Accords, which is, as we know, is a bilateral normalization agreement between Israel and several Arab states during Mr. Trump's first term, and building on that to expand that to other Arab nations, including Saudi Arabia. Of course, there is a lot at stake and many different perspectives and views that are at the table, and we'll see what happens during the meeting itself.
That's right. And as the two leaders prepare to meet, what do you think Trump will do in terms of pressuring Netanyahu to ensure this ceasefire deal holds? Because we know the Israeli Prime Minister is under growing pressure from the far right of his coalition to completely ditch the deal and go a step further and resume the war on Gaza. Do you think Trump will be successful in keeping the ceasefire deal intact?
And this is going to be a very key component of the meeting, I'm sure. But the fact that there are not Palestinians at the table, the fact that in this particular conversation, Mr. Trump has called for the forced expulsion of Palestinians from Gaza and the West Bank into neighboring countries, Jordan and Egypt, which has been categorically flat out rejected by Arab countries. It shows that he's facing an uphill battle. And the reality is that there is no appetite for the continued aggression of the Israeli forces against Palestinians. This violence did not begin on October 7th. The Palestinians have been facing over 76 years of persecution, illegal occupation of their land, and any conversation that does not center justice for the Palestinian people and that doesn't include their perspectives is unfortunately going to have a very slim chance of being effective. One of the other things that's important to note is that for Mr. Trump, he has expressed his desire to expand the Abraham Accords, and he has a vested interest in wanting to make sure that Saudi Arabia comes on board and normalizes relations with Israel. And it wouldn't be surprising to see that he would leverage this opportunity in this meeting with Mr. Netanyahu to maybe compel him to continue to negotiate for a ceasefire. But the reality is that it's many of the Arab countries, they have already issued a statement. They have said that they reject any plans to move Palestinians from Gaza and the West Bank. And they've warned that these kind of plans, they threaten the stability of the region, and they would continue to expand the conflict in the region and undermine any prospect of coexistence. But, with Mr. Netanyahu, within his own party, he is facing pressure from including his own minister, Smotrich, who has threatened to resign if there is any end of the war. And Mr. Netanyahu himself has a vested interest in continuing the genocide and the war because it's to his own political interests. So it'll be interesting to see how this meeting plays out. But the reality is, at the end of the day, for all intents and purposes, it's very questionable whether there is a ceasefire in effect at the moment. I mean, the fact that even yesterday, a car in central Gaza was targeted by Israeli fire and killing innocent Palestinians, including a young child. Daily, these aggressions are continuing to mount, and it further eradicates and erodes the chance of there being a sustainable peace in the region.
Okay, Zainab Chaudry, we will have to leave it there, but thank you so much for joining us on the program.